and the Shoreway Saints is a group of family members all bringing something different to the table.
I'm gonna tell you all a little story. Spot this girl. Here it goes. I shout out, hey girl, she goes walking by. She changed direction to my surprise. Said, what's a fine thing like you doing alone? She said, I'm taking a walk to use the phone. And to my surprise, I must have caught your eye. I'll tell you I love you if you give me a ride.
It was in 1998 when the founding members of Otis and the Shoreway Saints began their journey through 10 years of blue-collar rock and roll. Through multiple band members, countless shows, and 3 studio albums, one of which has never been heard until tonight, it's only ever been about one thing: playing rock and roll.
The band to me is great. I've never played with a group of members before that have played off each other so much. If one of us likes to branch out and try something musically, it's never looked on as, you know, oh, stop that right now, what are you doing, you know.
Every guy has his own style, and each one of them brings something to the table. I mean, they all have their strengths and weaknesses.
Well, not any one person shines so bright that it blocks everybody else out.
It's a democracy. I mean, we tend to bounce ideas off of each other, and you know, all of us have been playing music long enough to know that some things work, some things don't.
And the one thing I would say about this band is it's egoless, which is a rarity in a band. I think everyone in the band is genuinely somebody that you'd want to hang out with, regardless. You know, it's almost like the music is second nature most of the time.
The creating of the songs is just, it's such a whole mutual project. Someone brings an idea to the table, and everybody adds their own little part to it. Knowing, you know, Justin and how he does his little parts and adds, you know, just the things that a lot of people don't pay attention to, but since he puts it there, it just takes the song to a whole nother level.
And we got Jay now. He's probably the most solid drummer I've ever heard, including some of my favorite drummers in other bands, you know.
And then of course my partner, my rhythm partner, Greg. Cool bass lines, really cool bass lines.
I don't know, as far as lineups go, I think this is probably the tightest group we've had. I think it's the, you know, the closest group.
It's a good feeling playing with them.
The guys in my band are consummate professionals. I mean, they do everything that's expected of them, asked.
Mark and his keyboards, as well as his horn work.
Mark's a badass. And I mean that.
And then the final piece of the puzzle was Norm.
He's kind of brought a little bit of soul to the sax part that we were kind of lacking a little bit before.
Otis's style of writing is good enough that when I was playing with him, I had to ask, is this an original or is this a cover? That's how good his stuff is.
It's been Otis's writing and the band's love for blue-collar rock and roll that have kept them playing week after week throughout Cleveland for the last 10 years.
Over the last 10 years, we've done a lot of neat things, a lot of fun things, things that we'll talk about until we're 80 years old, 90 years old.
We played the Cleveland Browns Stadium. There were about 10 or 15,000 people in a tent.
All the Twilight at the Zoo gigs.
Twilight at the Zoo is actually one of my favorite gigs to do every year because it's just such a huge thing. And
for some reason, I always like to taste of Tremont. Those were good gigs.
We did a Bessie Smith tribute at the Rock Hall. That was a lot of fun.
My first gig was actually Summerfest.
Playing the triathlons downtown Cleveland.
Stampers is always a good one.
Trips to BB-Town, Iowa.
We did like an open house thing for the playoff square where they set us up down in the city.
We've done a lot of benefits.
We did a leukemia fundraiser at the Cleveland Yacht Club.
You name it, we've kind of done it.
For the last 10 years, Otis and the Shoreway Saints have been a revolving group of band members.
We wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for a few others that have come and gone. Wendy Poltorek, Mark Boych, Chris Rumble, Craig Blackiston, to name a few, and Dan Belaze, Alex McDonald, David Baker, Ed Hume. They all kind of paved the way for us.
We wouldn't be where we are now if we hadn't had the other people who have come and gone.
Just because they left doesn't mean that they're forgotten or things that they did are forgotten. We keep building from those who have been with us in the band, along with those who are still in the band right now.
It is those 6 guys in the band right now that have brought us here tonight, the release of their 3rd studio album, No Safe Place. For the last 5 years, Otis and his Shoreway Saints have been in and out of the studio with notable producer-engineer John Guggenheim, working tirelessly on their finest and proudest work, No Safe Place.
The last 4 years, when we initially started the CD, had a lot of energy behind it. Craig came to the table with a lot of things he wanted to do with it.
Due to some personal issues with the band, there was some time off. It kind of sat in the can for a while. And in a way that turned out to be a good thing.
We took a lot of chances with the songs, whereas if we would have went in there, cranked it out within the month, it's just, you know, I think the product would have suffered.
When we did eventually readdress the album to try to finish it up, we all looked at it with kind of a new life. You know, Otis's lyrics, he was able to basically pour out everything that was going on in his life over the last 4 or 5 years.
Death of my father was kind of a big one. I kind of went through this little period where I kind of didn't care about it. Just off doing my own thing. And then my mother started getting on me quite a bit and saying, you know, your dad wouldn't want you to just let it go. So, you know, so yeah, the CD became a project that I kind of like send out to him now.
It's a sticky one tonight.
Just kind of how sometimes, with the way things have turned out in the last 4 to 5 years, sometimes it just feels like there is no safe place to be. And, you know, hopefully when people listen to the new CD, they'll feel the opposite.
One of the things I did, just to give you an idea of where was this CD going, is I read the first line of every song that Otis wrote, just to get a feel for it. And you could feel where his pain and his darkness was at. It was coming through right on the first line of every song.
A lot of the material is pretty much my life, which sometimes I'm uncomfortable about, but for whatever reason on this CD and a couple of the songs on here, I was able to get some of the things that I had in my head out. The funny thing is, sitting on it for 4 years, it took on its own life. It didn't have the same weight 4 years ago. And I think maybe that there's a reason why it took as long as it did.
I think where the original concept was and where we're at now is it's night and day.
I think it's great. You know, it might be a biased opinion.
It's a progression. Otis's writing continues to grow.
I think No Safe Place is really the closest to what we really are when the 6 of us are together.
We had a lot of ambiance to it, and there's a lot of different styles we're playing with now that is kind of more like us trying to be ourselves rather than trying to be a Bruce copy band or something like that.
I mean, I guess I could probably say best moment in 10 years would be finally getting No Safe Place out. You know, just half of the time we've been together, we've been working on that.
We're writing songs now, true songs, and I'm not saying that there weren't songs in the first 2 albums, and I'm not dissing those songs. I'm just saying that this, you know, is a great CD.